Hey everyone, how are you doing? In today's video, I'm going to show you how you can repurpose old decor and also how to make some new decor for your front porch and other decor that can be used all year round. So let's get started. Let's go ahead and start with repurposing old decor. Sometimes throwing on a new coat of paint is the easiest way to refresh old decor to either color match it with what is trending or simply just to fit your decor style. So I've had these cute ceramic pumpkins that I hauled at Target a couple years back, and I no longer use the colors, but the pumpkins are in such immaculate shape that I really wanted to repurpose them this year. So I went over to Walmart and I picked up the acrylic paint in the color Blue Bonnet. I also mixed it with the black that I already had in hand, and it made that perfect muted blue that I was decorating with this year. I also made sure that the colors were a matte finish to, again, go with that muted look. I also wanted to repurpose some signs, and these I haven't used probably about the same time that I used those ceramic pumpkins. My color palette just has changed a lot, and they are still so cute and such in good shape still. So I just started painting it, but it started getting a little messy, so I took the front end off, and I decided that that galvanized part of the sign, I was going to paint it in copper, and I made sure that the finish was like a hammered, just so it can give it a little bit more texture. And then while I was at it, I figured I might as well paint some stems because the gold or the brass was not going to match with my decor at all. So a lot of my pumpkin stems, I painted copper just so that all of the decor looked very cohesive. But before I did any spray painting, I did pick up some more pumpkins. These foam pumpkins are from Walmart this year. And the best way to paint foam pumpkins, in my opinion, is just to grab a sponge, put on some paint, and just dab it on there. I also want to spray paint this fall sign in copper and this galvanized pumpkin. Well, it's not really galvanized, but it's just pumpkin that I thrifted and I never used. And so I wanted to really use it this year, again, to repurpose a lot of decor. So here is what everything looks like together. You guys, this sign is actually my favorite sign that I repurposed this year. And now I just want to make a little floral arrangement on this pumpkin. And the only thing that I could give advice about when making any type of floral arrangement is what you do onto one side, you want to do onto the other side so that it looks just very cohesive. So for example, I'm putting in some little ivory colored florals on this side. I'm also going to add it onto the other side. And then since this is more of like a rounded shape of like floral arrangement, then I'm going to do it on the other sides too. And I just take that concept throughout the whole arrangement. At this point, I realized that I didn't want to use this as I had originally thought of using it, which was just to make it a straight flower arrangement. And I really wanted to put a candle in the middle. So I took out the blue flower in the middle. I put in a candle that I picked up at Dollar Tree earlier this year too, so that I can use as a part of my decor for this year. And it was just to help me navigate around the circular shape of the pumpkin without interfering with where the middle of the, like where the candle will go, in other words. And you guys, I also didn't pick up enough florals. So what I ended up doing is going through my stash of florals that I had, and I had these white hydrangeas, which now are copper. And all I did was spray paint them. I was it was just like a spur of the moment. I decided, what do I have to lose? And it worked out great. So if you don't have enough florals, just go through your stash and you have some spray paint, and there you go. The last thing to add is just a bow, and I decided to make one out of raffia, just a very simple one, nothing too intricate. And this is how everything looks when it's all completed. I really love this piece, and I'm so glad I decided to repurpose it. For this next one, you're going to need a canvas from the Dollar Tree, as well as 2 of those Hot Wheel tracks. For whatever reason, the Dollar Tree tends to sell them individually and sometimes in a pack, so just make sure there are 2 of them. What we're going to use, or I guess the main part, is that like orange track. And the canvas, the only thing that I recommend about the canvas is that it's larger in size. And if you could find those that are like MDF with like a printed side, then definitely pick that up. And I'm just going to paint mine black, and I just want to do like a little swatch to see how it would apply on there with acrylic. You're going to be needing 8 blocks from the tower game from the Dollar Tree, and then just paint them the same color. Also, I did go outside and I spray painted the inside of my canvas as well as the tracks, just because it was going to be faster. Just from the swatch, I noticed that I was going to have to put a lot of coats of paint, and I didn't want any streaking. But I ended up with like a satin finish in the black spray paint. So what I ended up doing is, after it was fully dried and I put everything together, I did go in with the matte acrylic spray, not spray paint, but the matte acrylic paint that I had. And then it gave it that matte color that I was, or finish that I was going for. So just keep that in mind. If you decide to go with a lighter color, you definitely might need to prime prior to going in with your color of choice. So now that all the pieces are dried, we're going to start assembling everything, and I'm simply starting off by adding 4 blocks to each corner of the canvas, and then I'm going to insert the tracks in between that with using my hot glue gun, and I'm using the hot glue sticks. Like the Gorilla Glue sticks is what I meant to say. That's all I use, and I'm not sure if I've mentioned that before, but I do find that my projects are a lot more sturdier with using the Gorilla Glue sticks. I also did want to mention that this is not my creation. This is not my idea. I did see this all over a lot of social media platforms, but especially on Facebook. And I'm a part of a Facebook group where we share a lot of our like creative ideas, and this was one of them. So I just wanted to give credit to whoever the creator was on this. It's such a brilliant idea. And to the back of all the tracks, I'm also adding a block. The way the canvas was facing, the staples were very visible, and I didn't like the way that looked. So the best way I could hide it was just by adding some jute rope around it. And at first I thought it was a really cute contrasting color, so that is one option. However, I wanted this piece to be entirely black, so I ended up spray painting it. And then to that, I just added some of the largest beads that I had as little feet on each corner of the canvas. For the top of the lantern, I'm going to be using this wooden doorknobs from Walmart. Since I was already there picking up paint, I decided just to bring these with me too. Originally, I had thought of putting like a wooden bead on top of the lantern with a ring in between it so it looks more realistic. However, that didn't work out. The largest bead I had was actually too small for the top of this lantern. So plan B was to use this, and actually it looks fine. All I did was add some smaller beads around it so it looked a little bit more as a part of the lantern, if you will. And then I painted it all the same color. Before I painted the top of my lantern, I decided just to go ahead and start my floral arrangement. So I'm using one of these flat rounded floral foams from the Dollar Tree, and then I'm just going to lay my candle on top of that and then just start my arrangement. So this is the same concept as we did earlier with the pumpkin. What you do to one side, you're also going to do onto the other side. But I did use additional items such as this little foam pumpkin and some of the leaves that were left over from my florals, and I felt like it just added more volume to the sides because there were some little gaps in between like the lantern and the canvas, and it just looks different. So let me know, what do you guys think about this? For this next DIY, I picked up 4 of those wooden pumpkins from the Dollar Tree, and I also had this stain on hand already, which is the Varathane in the color Jacobine. I mixed it very well, and with a lint-free rag, I just started to stain my pumpkins. And so usually with any type of wood projects that I'm staining, I go in with like a wood preconditioner, and it just makes for a smoother finish. There's no patchiness going on. But because of this type of wood that the pumpkins are, I felt like it was really unnecessary to do that step. However, I did make sure to stain it with going with the grain of the wood, and then I also wiped off any excess stain at the same time. And then after everything was stained front and back of the pumpkins, I did go in and seal it, and then I gave those about 2 to 3 coats on each side as well. I really wanted to add some sort of texture to these pumpkins without using any twine or any jute. I wanted it to be very different. So I had this yarn that I picked up at the Dollar Tree a while back, and I really just crocheted a chain as if I was starting a project. And for this pumpkin in particular, I wanted to highlight the pumpkin as if you could see the lines on it, like the middle, like the crevices of the pumpkin. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just crocheting as long as I think, like a chain as long as I think it would look good, and then I'm going to start gluing it. So I'm going to show you all these pumpkins at the end when I completely finish it, but that's what I did with this first one. For this next one, I wanted to make a pumpkin that was just very fun looking, and I figured polka dots are fun, or to me they are anyways. So all I did was crochet some little circles and then some little half circles for like the edges of the pumpkin. And in all honesty, this is probably my favorite pumpkin out of all 4 of them. Since this pumpkin already had so much texture and it's one of those smaller ones, I decided just to keep it real simple and just paint the sides and the middle blue, the same color that I had mixed up earlier that I had been using in all of my projects this far. For this last pumpkin, all I'm doing is crocheting a long chain that's going to fit all around the pumpkin. So I really want to frame, in other words, the whole entire pumpkin with the yarn. The last thing that I'm doing to the same pumpkin is just adding a welcome sign, and it's one of those galvanized ones from the Dollar Tree, and I just spray painted it in copper. So here's what all of the pumpkins look like together. I did add a bow to the smallest one because that's the one that's going to be at the very top, and I'm placing them, all of the pumpkins, on top of a piece of scrap wood that we just had laying around in the garage. And in order to adhere them all onto the scrap wood, I'm just using a combination of the Gorilla wood glue as well as my hot glue gun with the Gorilla Glue sticks. And that pretty much sums up this project. I actually let these sit overnight just so that the wood glue could fully dry. Once that is fully dry, or the wood glue is fully dry, like, these pumpkins are not going to go anywhere. So here's what it looks like. I'm going to show you guys how I decorated, or how I'm using this. And then here's another little glimpse of what's to come in the next video. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye!